Hello, and welcome to Pressing Buttons. I'm Hugo.
I'm Nick.
Another great week, another great episode coming at you, episode 58, and we are rolling along. It's been a good week, man. Good week of weather, good week of hanging out. We got to see John.
Lots of hanging out.
Yeah, Week and Wick, because we got to see John Wick this week, which we'll talk about at the end. Pretty good movie, and Resident Evil 4. So, a good week and a week of force.
Didn't we do something else too? I can't remember. I guess it was game night.
We drank. We played Fortnite too.
Yeah.
But those will be in our closing thoughts. Just a little tease, and we're just gonna jump right into some video game news because we don't have a lot of housekeeping. Surprisingly, no corrections issued. First thing we want to talk about is the Unreal editor for Fortnite. So at GDC, that was going on last week. I think it just finished up this weekend. Unreal Engine 5 was showed off. Epic did a big showcase just showing off the future of what the Unreal Engine is doing. And they took the opportunity to announce the Unreal editor for Fortnite, which is basically a new PC application dedicated to use the tools that people have in Fortnite and design and develop and do different things, which we've always said. I think that Fortnite over the years has gotten better. Even though it's still a cartoonish look, it's kind of evolved where it just looks great. And they basically showed off a lot of tech demos. They did a tech showcase for Senua Saga. Hellblade 2. I think I might have said that wrong.
It's close enough.
And Lords of the Fallen, as well as Infinite Simals, which is so Senua Saga Hellblade 2 is basically a sequel to Hellblade 1. It always looks great. I've never played the original game, so I don't know what's going on, but it does look good. Lords of the Fallen, obviously another sequel or remake of The Lords of the Fallen, which was an original PS4 game I played, which was really enjoyable. That looks great to me. It's very detailed. I think they did an homage to Bloodborne because I believe one of the characters looked like the hunter from Bloodborne, so that was pretty cool. And Infinite Simals, which is looks like a Bugs Life type of game, just very Unreal looking with very hardcore graphics. That looked pretty cool. So they showed off those technical showcases. That everything looked really great. And as always, Epic just telling everybody that this is to continue to push to the metaverse. They've been one of the people at the forefront that keeps pushing the metaverse, I think, and I think that they're doing it well as opposed to other companies like Facebook and such. I think they're really making progress in terms of connecting all these different IPs together and having people participate in it. And then obviously once the Unreal editor for Fortnite was out in the wild, a lot of people were able to create a lot of things. People who had early access to it were able to show off some really cool demos. And then I know a lot of creators were able to go in. They even remade the early map of Fortnite, which a lot of people really wanted that. I'm okay with every new map that comes out, and I think they're doing a good job. But sometimes you want to live in the past, so you could just jump in on the Fortnite map. What did you think of the showcase? Were you impressed by anything? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great showcase. I always look forward to. I think it's called the State of Unreal, is what they call the showcase. So, they always have really cool stuff. Thought everything looked great. I think probably the big reveal was what they call UEFN, which is specifically like the Fortnite Unreal Engine editing tool and making that widely available. This is basically they're more like user generated content strategy for Fortnite. It looks awesome. Like I've seen some. You mentioned people wanting to basically rebuild the first map from Fortnite. I've seen a bunch of other stuff, like people are recreating like Mario Kart in the game. So there's I can't remember. I think it's one of the Toad levels, but one of the more famous like Mario Kart levels. So you can, and it looks, it's not exact, but it looks pretty damn close to the Mario Kart level. And instead of its carts, you're just riding, whatever the motorcycle is. So I think it'll be really exciting to see what people are able to do with this. And I think for the same reason Minecraft and Roblox have had so much staying power. It's because there's such, it's basically like a platform with tooling for lots of different people to be able to make their own experiences. So this is basically Fortnite getting, more serious with that type of approach. So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I'm again looking forward to what people are able to cook up with it. I think it like probably I think it's pretty easy to use. Like people are already creating some pretty cool stuff with it. But I think in the coming months, there's going to be some like people are like, oh my God, what the hell you can build that inside of this. And then I think things will start taking off from there. So
Yeah, and the cool thing is, I mean, there isn't a lot of video game experiences that let you be as creative as this. The only other one I can think of is Dreams from Media Molecule, which lets you do a lot of things like these. But this is on a different level just because it is Unreal Engine and it's something that's widely used in the industry. The other big thing about this is, people like to be creative and invent new things or just recreate things in other worlds. And Epic has been one of those few developers that do like to collaborate with their creators, and also they have a big creator push. It makes up a lot of their revenue. They are, I believe they said, sharing 40% of the revenue.
40, yeah.
Yeah, 40% of the revenue with the creators. So I think that's a big push for it as well, where it's a big incentive to have people create these experiences for other people to enjoy. The only bad thing, or I would say downside to this, I would say, is a lot of intellectual properties aren't necessarily going to be okay with this. They're not like, yeah, just make stuff with my IPs in the game or something like that. So I'm definitely that bumps me out a little bit, just because obviously people want to get paid no matter what. If that wasn't there, you could imagine anything from like Zelda and Unreal Engine, like you said, Mario, Sonic. Just a whole bunch of different stuff that you could see people creating. But hopefully they do it right. And, if anything, just release it out on the internet. Somebody will download it and we don't have to talk about it.
That never happens though, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Are you interested in anything specific like that might be created with this, or just because they did show off like a little demo of Fortnite, just looking more realistic. There was a mech in there as well. I think that looked cool. It's a more realism take on Fortnite. I don't know if people necessarily need that, just because you could just go play Call of Duty or something like that. But it's experiments.
yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything specific. I think that's what's exciting, right? Is by them creating this tool set for the entire world, I think people come up with pretty innovative ways of leveraging the tool set. So I think it's more of a wait and see approach versus me trying to come up with something specific. Part of me, I'm by no means a game developer, but part of me kind of wants to. I have messed around with Unreal Engine before, but part of me wants to specifically look into UEFN and just mess around with it and not take it too seriously. But I think it might be fun just to experiment with, and for my own intellectual curiosity, just come up with something.
Well, we can't wait to see what the future holds and what people create. So we'll keep an eye on it, and if anything newsworthy comes up, we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. And then moving on, we wanted to bring up the news of the Mercenaries hitting Resident Evil 4. For those unfamiliar, Mercenaries was like a horde mode game that they had for Resident Evil. It was an add-on when it was originally released. They set a date for it. It's going to be out April 7th. You'll be able to play as different characters from the game and just do horde mode. Basically, just run through, shoot some shit, try to beat the time, and hopefully your name gets put on the record. We won't talk about it too much, just because we did want to leave some ideas for Resident Evil 4 closing thoughts, but I think this is definitely good. It adds more replayability to the game. The game's already great. It doesn't take that many hours to beat in terms of length, just because I don't think any Resident Evil is super lengthy. It's just the tension that it builds and how you do everything kind of slower paced than other games. That's why they take longer. But with the game being 16 to 20 hours to beat from what everybody's saying, I think this is a good addition to it. And the game itself does have a lot of replayability. So I'm glad that they brought this back. People weren't too sure if they were going to do it, but they obviously made a firm release date. So can't wait to play that and do some trials and see who's better, you or I.
Yeah, yeah, and I think at least with the original one, you had to actually beat the game to unlock Mercenaries. So I'm guessing that's still going to be the case.
Yeah, I was reading it's about
Uh,
the same thing. You gotta beat the
okay,
game
okay,
before
yeah.
you
So they
start.
have, they're basically giving everyone like a month or a couple weeks to just play through the main game. So I think they had some time. But I think a lot of people were. I mean, I was surprised that they were rolling it out so early because they haven't really mentioned anything around release timing. So I thought that was great, at least for me, where I'll probably be wrapped up with the game. I'll definitely be done with the game by then, and then I'll have another reason to go back into it and play around with that. So that was a happy surprise.
And it's definitely something to keep an eye out because just besides Street Fighter 6 coming out in June, we don't really have anything slated. Any big franchises slated for the back half of the year for Capcom. So something to keep you entertained, I guess, a bit while you play Monster Hunter DLC and Street Fighter 6, and hopefully they announce some stuff during the summer. All right, next bit of news is Spider-Man 2 release date. So if you've been on the internet, if you've been on Twitter or any gaming websites, you were able to notice that Tony Todd, known for playing Candyman and other horror guys in movies, he is actually the voice of Venom for the next Spider-Man game. And he actually, I don't know, well, we don't know for sure that it's real, but it does seem to imply. He did put out a tweet saying that there's going to be a big media push for the game starting in August, and that the game is going to be releasing in September, which is kind of weird. I think they would want to start doing a big media push before, but it's Spider-Man. I don't think it really needs that much in how well the first game did. But that's kind of exciting just to kind of get a firmer release date. We always knew it was going to be around fall time, and with the summer keynotes and conventions coming up, I can definitely see that they're going to be showcasing it more. They did the same thing with the first one, it being such a great game from Insomniac and getting such a big marketing push and doing so well. And you know, from remembering back how it got announced, the Sinister Six trailer where they showed all these villains fighting Spider-Man and kind of beating him up and all that stuff. It was a very hyped trailer, so I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the marketing just to see how they incorporated. I know they did a good job of bringing a lot of obscure villains that people hadn't heard of. I'd never really heard of Mr. Negative before Spider-Man 1 got released, so I'm pretty sure they're going to do the same thing for this one. And obviously Venom is one of my favorite Marvel villains, anti-heroes, I would say. So I'm excited to see how they use them and incorporate them, especially because the game doesn't follow the same beats that the comics are following or the movies are following in terms of like Venom and Harry Osborn and stuff like that. What do you think? Are you super excited? I mean, Spider-Man is, one of your guys.
Yeah, for sure. And also a big Venom fan. We are the Venom brothers. When we're playing Fortnite, we both have the Venom skin. So
We do really well with the Venom skins.
yeah, well, at least once. So yeah, super excited for the title. I played both Spider-Man and Miles Morales. So I beat both of those games. Really enjoyed them. I don't know, I just find it odd. Like, part of me doesn't. So he tweeted this, and then he had like a follow up tweet where he was kind of like in a very playful way, being like, "Oh, I was jet lagged," and he was like in like underwater or something. So I don't know. So it's like part of me is like maybe there's some truth to it where they wanted to like involve him and maybe the voice cast with some of the promotion of the game, and that way they would kind of have an idea of when the game's getting released. But I don't know. I just feel like Sony is generally so protective of these things that I'd be surprised that the voice cast would actually know specifics around launching a game, but who knows? So there's part of me that almost like I'm just preparing myself for the game not coming out in September, but I still think it's going to be this year. And I just imagine this was going to be their big holiday title. So if it does come out in September, then I would just need to look back to see what the release calendar looks like. But it's not off the top of my head. I don't remember like what other big title from PlayStation would potentially be like their holiday title then. Maybe there is one, but I just can't think of it. But so we'll see. But like I would love that. I think in a somewhat recent episode, I was talking about how the middle of this year is like absolutely insane with game releases, and then Q3 was looking, there wasn't like a big game in Q3 that I necessarily was looking forward to. So this would basically solve that for sure. So I don't know.
I was going to say, I think the time frame does add up. The first one did release in September, and then I know that Miles Morales released sometime in December because they were doing like a big holiday push type thing.
It was a Christmas game.
Yeah, it was a Christmas game. So I can
just
see
like
them.
Die Hard. Just like Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Let's not get into it. But I think it's definitely the anniversary's coming up. It would be 5 years since the original, since Marvel Spider-Man 1. So wouldn't be surprised if they kind of kept it close to that time. But like you did say, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Sony is usually tight-lipped. They don't let a lot of stuff leak out or anything like that. But E3's coming up. I'm sure they want to do some announcements. There's been rumors that there's going to be a big showcase, a big summer showcase that they want to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if this would like start it off.
Have they confirmed whether Venom's a playable character?
No.
Or people are just speculating based on how they frame the trailer. I mean, that's certainly how I was reading it between the lines based on the trailer, but I don't think they've definitively confirmed that, right?
So with this one, I always hope that Venom's a playable character in whatever they release, but just from the story wise, I think they're just probably gonna keep it to Peter and Miles in terms of playable characters, just because they're trying to tell a different story. But I am hoping you can kind of play as him, but it's not a Venom story. He's probably just gonna be used as the villain. I don't think. Whereas like did you play the Ultimate Spider-Man game and all that stuff?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so with that one, you could play as Venom. You could switch over between Peter Parker and Eddie Brock and play as Venom. So that was pretty fun, using Venom powers. But that it kind of demanded it because it was that type of game where you were fighting with and playing along Venom. So
yeah.
But this one doesn't. To me, it doesn't look like it. But I'm crossing my fingers. All right, next thing we want to talk about is video game movies. So with the big push of video game movies into TVs and TV shows, we get some word that the Dune screenwriter is going to be writing the Gears of War movie, along with, as we know, the director of Ghost of Tsushima is also the director of John Wick, which did pretty well at the box office. So there's been a very big push for video game movies. I know they've been trying to make them good for the last couple of years, and they have succeeded. I think the quality definitely has stepped up, and I think that more has to do with the studios actually investing in it as opposed to seeing it as just like a money grab for gamers. So it's good news to hear that the Dune screenwriter is going to be penning the Gears of War movie. Not that Gears of War is some intellectual.
Yeah, like what material does he have to work with?
Yeah,
like I feel like it's pretty lean on lore and world building.
Yeah, well, the insane boss battles and graphics and VFX is going to be for the gamers, and then they want to add a little drama and stuff for the common folk, if you know what I'm saying. But I did see Dune. Dune is pretty good. I'm excited for the sequel. I believe it comes out at the end of this year. So high hopes for the Gears of War movie, and hopefully they can nail the aesthetic of the game and the world with real actors without it looking cartoonishly horrible. I mean, I know we both said Dave Bautista would be good, and he wants to play.
Bautista said Batista.
Yeah, he wants to play Simon Phoenix, but it's kind of like do we really want to see a team of muscles on the screen for real? For real?
That's what we were speculating. It's almost going to be like a kind of like an Expendables type movie, which I don't think that's the direction that a Dune screenwriter would take it. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what it is.
But he did because Bautista is in the Dune movie. So if anything, that kind of hey guys.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't precluding Batista from being involved with it, but I think we just kind of had this like Expendables. What's the? I'm ashamed I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but what's the insect bug fighting?
Insect bug fighting.
Yeah. What's the movie? You know what movie I'm talking about? Where they're shooting bugs. It's got a.
You're talking about Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers. Yeah. I just couldn't think of it. Yeah, I know. I'm embarrassed, but I'm not editing that anyway. That's my. I gotta take that L. Starship Troopers. Like to me, I think there was like, oh, is this going to be kind of like Starship Troopers? But like, I don't think it's going to go down that route.
Because Starship Troopers.
Fine, but again, that was just kind of what we were thinking when we first saw the announcement.
Yeah, I think Starship Troopers was more about the propaganda of the military, whereas this is like trying to tell a serious story about these bugs that are underground and were dormant and now they're out there destroying the world. So it's going to be tough, man. But if it's good enough, we might see in theaters. If not, we'll just watch it when it comes out streaming. So we'll win either way. All right, next thing we want to talk about is the Diablo 4 open beta. We're just going to talk about impressions because we both have been kind of busy this weekend playing Resident Evil, so we didn't get a chance to download it, especially since it's the open beta. And we also wanted to, since Nick pointed out to me that we don't really carry anything over from the beta into the full game, it really does. It's not worth it. And from what I'm hearing, a lot of people have been experiencing issues with queue times, the game not loading, the game crashing, and Nick said it's affecting some people's GPUs. So it is a beta, so these things are expected. It's why you do the betas, to iron out the issues and make sure that you have a smooth launch, even though I don't think they're going to have a smooth launch. But the game itself is fun. A lot of people have been saying that it's going to become very addictive. They're going to be wanting playing it. It's the new game, I'm guessing, for a lot of people to just be constantly playing. I'm excited for it. The last one I played was 3. That one took a while. I think it took a year before it actually became good and people were enjoying it. But it's just another game, I feel like, where it will be good co-op with your friends, and it's just looting. You know me. I love me some looting. So I'm excited for it. We'll see the closer it gets. It is also releasing in a tight window where there's a lot of games that will be out that I'll also want to play. So if it's good enough, it'll take my time. If not, I'll just put it away like Andy's toys. What about you? Have you been inclined to play it even though you've been busy?
Yeah, I think I made a comment that I was planning on playing the open beta, but then I didn't realize how deep I was going to get into Resident Evil 4, so that pretty much took up all my gaming time over the weekend. And then the other thing is the progress not carrying over, which for me it's almost kind of like what at least for me, like I know some people are like, oh my god, I just can't wait to play any version of this and I need to play it immediately. That wasn't my mindset. So for me, it was just okay. I'll just wait until the full game releases. And I heard enough about people having technical issues that I just decided to skip it. But I did watch some streams of it. I did read some impressions of people who are more diehard Blizzard / Diablo fans, and it seems pretty positive. I think I think Blizzard has maybe had some challenges with their audience and fan base, and I think the fan base was almost kind of conditioned to like want to hate the new installment. but so to me it kind of speaks a lot if like these people are generally providing positive impressions even though they were probably like going into it like wanting to hate it. I think says a lot. So but yeah, I think for me it was just wait until the full game comes out, read some more impressions. If all looks good, I'll probably dip into it. The other reason that I didn't kind of bother this weekend, as you were mentioning, I think we have this on our short list as a big co-op, fun social game to play, and I just knew no one else was doing the open beta, so it's like it just would have been me dicking around with the game, by myself, and then none of the progress carrying over. What's the point? So, but my hope is like we can get a group of people on and have a good time with it. So,
emphasis on get a couple people on, because hopefully they have it patched up by the time it comes out and we can actually get in the lobby and play the game. And I know everybody, like you said, everybody's been giving good opinions. There have been some negative stuff. I think one of the things that I've been hearing is that on PC it's not going to have local co-op, which I think it's more understandable on the PC side. Who wants to sit next to somebody on a PC and play locally, whereas on the console it's kind of easier because you're on the couch and you have controllers. And then the other thing was that I think on PC you have to kind of click everywhere, which I do a lot in League of Legends, but that's its own type of game, and I've never been a fan of that. I would rather just use the directional stick and just move around with that. So, but they made it work in Diablo 3, so I'm pretty sure on consoles at least you'll be able to use a controller really well for Diablo 4.
Did you play Lost Ark with a controller?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't use my mouse and keyboard, man.
Yeah. Okay. No. Well, I think most diehard Diablo people are probably mouse and keyboard, but yeah, I also don't really like that, like clicking around way of things. And I was surprised by like a lot of the Twitch streams that I saw. People were using the controller. Like I have to imagine they're using a high-powered gaming PC, but they were still using a controller anyway. So I thought that was interesting. So maybe I'll give controller a whirl. And that'll make me like the game more.
I think based off of the part 3, I think they did a good job translating everything.
Okay. I still like, and I made the same comment with Lost Ark. I hate that over the top isometric camera angle. Like I just like can't get into the world with that camera. I don't know.
That's funny because I'm the total opposite. Like I like that view. I like, especially if it's done well, which they did with Diablo 3 and Lost Ark. I think the combat was done well. The puzzles were done well. It does take a little bit getting used to when you see the perspective, but I think once you're acclimated to it, I think if it's done well, it works really well.
Yeah. So I know I'm mentally preparing myself for being yet another game that I get into, and then after like 10 hours, I'm like, okay, I still hate this camera, and I'm done with the game.
Damn, hopefully you don't do that, because I did lap you in Lost Ark and I was disappointed.
Well, you were like making fun of me for playing the game, and then you ended up playing it for like 200 hours or something insane. So,
oh man,
I think that same thing is probably going to happen with Diablo, but
no, it'll be fun. We'll see. We'll see. All right, next thing we wanted to bring up is Final Fantasy XVI at PAX. So along with GDC, we also have PAX going on, PAX East out in Boston. We went to PAX West a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, out in Seattle. Amazing experience. They do have these panels. So Yoshi P is out there promoting the game, having these panel discussions about the game, showing off some gameplay videos, some developer stuff. You know how it is, but the game is still looking great. I know there's been a lot of discourse on the internet, especially because it's turned away so much from turn-based combat to more of an action brawler RPG. You would say, much like a lot of these new RPGs are coming out these days, like Nier and the Tales series and stuff like that. So I'm okay with that. I always like fresh new experiences, especially if it's such a classic franchise as Final Fantasy. I think that's one of the strongest points of the franchise, that every iteration of the games are a little bit different in terms of combat, in terms of gameplay, in terms of what the characters look like, what the world is. And then with Yoshi P working so much on Final Fantasy XIV and kind of bringing that aesthetic to it and that combat and just refining it to a single player experience, I think it's working really well, and I'm still liking what I'm seeing. I mean, the world looks great, the characters look great. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I am trying just to see as little as I can as possible, just because I want to experience it really, really fresh. So, I'm keeping away from it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm basically doing the same. Where it's not 100% media blackout, but I'm trying to do the best I can. So I might have done exactly what you did, where I saw that there was a panel at PAX East and I got all excited and I started watching it. And then I tuned out of it because I was like, this is too much. Like, I already know I'm buying the game and there's just way too much stuff. So maybe if you were more on the fence about the game, that would have been good for you to check that out and see if it persuades you to get it. But for me, I've already seen enough, so I took a glimpse. There was a little bit of Acon. I think they revealed a little bit more about Acon battles and how those could vary. I think people were questioning or potentially concerned by the Acon battle that they showed a couple months ago, about it being like a pretty simple, quick time
Two
event.
moves. You have two moves.
They're like, oh my god, is that? And so I think they were like trying to address some of that feedback by showing a little bit more of the variety that's in the game. So I think that makes sense. I didn't think that was going to be all the Acon battles were, so I didn't have that concern. So I didn't really watch too much of the Acon footage, and then I saw a little bit of the. They revealed more of the world. So there's a specific trailer around revealing the world of the game, and it looks amazing. I think based on the glimpse that I saw, my only potential concern was it's all just, I think for the most part, I just saw there were just empty worlds. There are these huge, beautiful looking places, but it's just Clive walking. So it's like, okay, like, is there, what's in there? I think I saw one town that actually had people in it, and it looked more of like a town or a city, but everything else is just this like giant open space. So I hope it's not one of those situations where it's just these like giant levels that are vacant.
Well, also, I think from the previous games, now that they have like all the monsters in the wild with you, I think they wouldn't kind of go back to it and just have barren wastelands without anything happen. I don't want to just see Clive walking around yelling, "I'm walking here," and that'd be the whole game. And
I'm actually interested in that game. So as long as the soundbite is programmed to a button, so I can just press the button whenever I want.
Yeah, and the monsters run away. No, but it's looking good.
You know what? That's the game I'm going to build in UEFM. That's going to be the I'm walking here game where
I would play that game.
Yeah.
No, but it's looking good, and in a week we'll be 2.5 months away from it releasing. So it's coming up quick, and we will try to kind of stay away from the media.
There should be. I'm probably going to play the demo. I hope there's something carries over. Whether that's just like the game checking if you have a save or you have the game and then you've played it, or the demo and you played it and you unlock something. So hopefully there's something that carries over, but we'll see. But there should be a demo, I think, coming out about a month or so before the launch date. So that's another thing to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, man. Final Fantasy XVI. It's one of our top games of the year that we're looking forward to. So can't wait to get our hands more on it.
Oh, you know what? I've forgotten this like 10 times at least in the year we've been doing this podcast, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is also coming out this year.
How do you forget this?
I keep
every
forgetting
time?
it. So I don't know. I just can't believe that there's two massive Final
Fantasy
Fantasy
in
games
1 year.
coming out 1 year like that, like just doesn't happen. So
Well, 3 if you count that the Final Fantasies, the Zax. What was the name of that one?
Crisis Core,
The Crisis Core that came out in December.
nah,
Those are 3 big Final Fantasy games in 1 year.
yeah, I don't think Crisis Core is that.
Just because it was a remake.
I don't think it's like a mainline. It was a cool game. Like I beat, I enjoyed it, but I just don't feel like it's at the same. Final Fantasy 16 is a mainline game, and then I think Rebirth is
Another mainline game, just different.
It's a mainline. Yeah, I view it as a mainline game.
No. When you put it that way, they are 2 mainline completely
so I think
new Final Fantasy experiences.
I just can't fathom that happening. So that's why I keep forgetting that game's coming out this year. But I think that I guess that's got to be their big holiday. Assuming it's still on track, that's probably going to be their big holiday game, right? Going back to my comment around Spider-Man.
Yeah, and they don't want to. They don't want to like. That's why you haven't probably heard enough about it because their big push for the summer is 16, and then once a month or 2 after 16 is out, they'll probably start the marketing push, especially around TGS for the Rebirth or whatever it's called. You forget that it's coming out. I forget the name of it. If it's Reborn, is it Rebirth? Is it?
I think it's Rebirth. Yeah.
I know it starts with an RE, and that's it. But I think that's when they'll start a big marketing push around TGS just to get everybody hyped up. Not that they need to, but I'd love to see some footage.
I still need to play Intergrade.
Yeah, we got a big back catalog.
Yeah, the fucking that Epic Games Store version of Final Fantasy VII Remake is just so disappointing.
Well, hopefully somebody will maybe take it over and do their own Intergrade, and it'd be good. All right, moving on from that, the last thing we want to talk about is the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game announced based on The Last Ronin. For those unfamiliar, The Last Ronin is a comic book. Well, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles originally started as a comic book, but it's a version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where there's only one turtle left alive, and he's out for revenge. The gritty version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a good comic from what I hear. I haven't read it myself, but I know a couple of people that have read it and they like it. It is, like I said, a grittier version. You don't know who the turtle is that's alive, because the turtle wields all the weapons that all the other turtles wield. So you don't know if it's Michelangelo, Leonardo, Raphael, or Donatello.
Did you say Michelangelo already?
Yeah,
that was the first one. Donatello. Okay.
Donatello was the one I was missing. I was like, I gotta get it.
Don't do a Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I don't want to lose some credit with the fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was announced by Paramount, which is weird because I didn't even know they had a global division for games. And
they own the Ninja Turtles IP.
No, I know they own the Ninja Turtles IP. I just didn't know they had like a game thing. Like they were pushing for games.
Yeah, well, it's kind of similar to Disney where they own a lot of IP and then they have a team internally that either like license out the IP or will pull together projects to get games going, leveraging their IP. So that's what that team is. Yeah,
and the comic itself is co-created by one of the original co-creators of the Ninja Turtles comics. So I'm excited to see where this is going in terms of how they're going to treat it. Is it going to be good? I don't mind that it's gritty. I just hope it's not like super gritty where you're like, what the fuck, man?
I love that it's gritty. I mean, that's the graphic novel that
the black
it's
and
based
white
on.
one.
Yeah, it's black and white, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe this is just like nostalgia, but so as a kid, I was obsessed with the cartoon, as I think basically every kid was. So absolutely obsessed with the cartoon, and then this was for Christmas. My grandpa got me the graphic novel, like not really knowing, and he was like, "Oh, Ninja Turtles, okay, let's here's the thing, that's Ninja Turtles," and then so I have like the first ever like and then like if you actually read it, it's like, again, when I was a kid, I was like, what the hell is this? because it's like
Is it the
black and
turtles?
white. It's more like
They're smoking, doing drugs, having sex.
they're just doing all sorts of shit. So it's like it was so funny to me at the time where I'm just like, this isn't the turtles, but like, no, like that is the turtles. The cartoon is the like kitty, family friendly version of it. So, but no, I think I'm definitely interested to see a game like a more gritty games adaptation of the turtles, and I think it makes sense. The whole like current version of God of War, that formula. And I was actually thinking about this as I was playing Ragnarok, where I'm like, how come this formula like hasn't been copied more? Like I feel like
Are you talking about story wise or combat wise?
just like the combat, like the core kind of combat mechanics of it. Where it's like really close behind the back and and all that. So because I feel like most of the copy and pasting of core game mechanics has really been like Soulsborne. Like you just see a lot of those, and to me, it's like I feel like God of War was just ripe for basically being like, hey, let's basically create that, but just put a different IP on top of it. And I don't think I've seen that many of them, but I feel like
it's probably not easy to do, I think. Because, like, remember, you had the Batman, the Arkham games fighting mechanic, and I think that took over a lot of video games, but it didn't always feel like good. So I think maybe that's one of the reasons that you don't see as a lot of God of War type.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think that's another, in addition to Soulsborne, I think, the Arkham formula was one that was, isn't there, I think there's an actual, a Turtles.
Yeah, there was based on one of the CG animated ones, which I was gonna say, if there's any franchises that like it's okay to go reboot or alternate timeline gritty type of thing, I think it is the Ninja Turtles. I mean, we're old enough to know every different iteration of them. Like you said, the comics, then you got the cartoons, then you got like the arcade games, then you got the other cartoons, Nickelodeon, like different versions of it. Then you have the movies with the suits. Then you have the Michael Bay movies. So like so many different iterations. Like it's okay. We accept whatever you bring us. We'll enjoy it. And when it comes to the Turtles, they're such a classic IP. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So. Look for that. The only bad thing about this is I think it's at least 2 to 3 years
off.
It's
a ways off for sure.
Those bastards with their teases. All right. Well, that does it for all the news we wanted to talk about, and then we're going to be moving on to some closing thoughts. I'll start it off. First thing I want to talk about is the League of Legends. And I talk about this. Yeah, well, I'll talk about the other stuff.
But, you don't have that in the notes?
Well, because I thought it was too short. So okay. First thing is League of Legends. As everybody knows, I'm a big League of Legends fan, and I haven't been playing really that much this year. I think I only played like a couple games this year, which is strange, but I think that goes to show you how it's been a strong year for video games because I've got my mind kind of wrapped on other video games, but I do still keep up with the pro leagues, and right now it's the spring playoffs going before the MSI, the midseason invitational, and a lot of the games have been bangers, so I'm pretty excited for watching all that stuff. And then as well as that, I've been watching some sports. It's March Madness. Been watching a lot of college basketball games. It's been pretty fun. A lot of good games going down to the wire. A lot of teams that were favorites getting knocked out. It's kind of funny to see that. The underdogs winning. Some no-name school's going to probably win it all, and that's going to piss off a lot of people who are like, oh no, it's not Duke or Kentucky or something. And I'm like, haha, or whatever. But yeah, and then the other thing is we're going to be talking about 2 4s, and that's Resident Evil 4 and John Wick 4. So first, let's talk about John Wick 4. So we did a little boys' night out with Eddie Z and Ali McGee and Brooklyn Dad and Nick and myself. We went out and saw John Wick 4. Amazing movie. I would say it's the most ridiculous movie that I've ever seen, but also one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. If you're not into the John Wick stuff, that's fine. But I think the great thing about John Wick is it is what it is. It's made by it's directed by a stuntman, a former stuntman, and all you see is action all the time. I think we discussed this that this is the one where I think he says like maybe 50 words in the whole movie, which is kind of funny, and it had its comedic elements. And Keanu Reeves, he's my boy. I loved him since watching Bill and Ted. I'm a big Bill and Ted fan. That was like one of the first movies I saw him in, and I thought it was great. And in this one, he did. I think I read somewhere he did like 80 to 90% of his own stunts, which you can see it in the movie because he doesn't.
He's slowing down a little bit, but
Yeah.
I still respect the effort.
Yeah, I got to give him the props because he was definitely kicking ass. There was a lot of ass kicking going on, a lot of shooting. Good new characters introduced. Donnie Yen does a great job. Lance Reddick as well with his portrayal in the movie. One of his final portrayals in any sort of media. I think he's got a couple more movies and shows coming out, but one of the last few. And Ian McShane, I believe.
Ooh, I was gonna say, do you know who plays
Watson?
Winston?
Winston. Let's not even talk about your stupid joke.
Ian McShane. It wasn't a joke. I was just talking about one of the main characters.
I'm talking about your stupid joke about what he drinks. Let's not even talk about that. But
right,
anyways, Ian McShane, great job as well as the manager, and Bill Skarsgård as the main, I would say, bad guy of the movie. But John Wick, man, pretty fun. What were your thoughts on it?
So I think I made a big mistake. I watched. I watched all. So I knew for sure I had seen John Wick 1 and John Wick 2, and I was unsure whether I'd seen John Wick 3. And there was part of me that was just trying to get hyped for John Wick 4. I'm like, you know what? Let me just rewatch all the John Wick movies just to make sure I can catch like any, Easter eggs or nods to the older movies. And then as I went through that, so then I watched John Wick 3 and I'm like, I did see this movie. I just forgot everything about it basically. But by the time I got through the end of John Wick 3, I'm just like, I have seen so many people get shot in the head.
And confirmed shot in the head.
And and double confirmed killed. I was getting just like fatigued by like the amount of killing that I was seeing. And so if I were to go back in history, I probably wouldn't recommend rewatching all the movies because
that's a lot of killing.
What I gained from, there wasn't much, right? Like it's like a pretty cut and dry story in each of the movies. So I don't think I gained that much by rewatching them. And then the only thing that I got was just like being like, okay, I'm kind of getting tired of seeing so many people get killed. And then in John Wick 4, like the movie's pretty long. I would say most of the fight scenes, they felt like they went on longer on average. Like
I think in the beginning, like that, there's a big setup where they're in Tokyo. I think that one to me was just like, because that's when we noticed the most, where it's like, damn, Keanu Reeves is old.
Yeah. So it was a lot of killing, but we had a good time. It was definitely. I don't think I really laughed in the first 3 John Wick movies, but in this one I was laughing quite a bit. Which I don't know if they were planning for those to be funny moments. I think it might have just been like so cheesy, or the delivery of the dialogue was just like so ridiculous that it was like we couldn't help it. Like I think we were the only people laughing in the theater. But
also, like, I'm a big fan of like lore overall. Like anything that has a big lore or has this whole intricate history of the thing. And the lore of the John Wick movies with the Continental and the High Table and all that shit is the most ridiculous. But like, if you give me a book with all of the info on this shit, I would read the shit out of it and I would enjoy it.
I guess it didn't take place in New York as much as John Wick 3. I think it was John Wick 3, or maybe John Wick 2. I can't remember, but one of those.
1 and 2 were mostly in New York. 3 went wherever Halle Berry was. And then this one was mostly Paris.
Yeah. So I guess maybe it was in 2. But I just remember there being like, okay, there's this like gunfights happening and like at the Oculus. and just like people are just like walking around like nothing, like no one's reacting to like gun battles.
There's no big news.
Yeah, all these like homeless people or like secretly assassins. So it's got like it got so ridiculous, but I don't know. It's just like dumb fun. So I had you know it was a good time. I think people were asking me what I thought about the movie, and it's just like it's a dumb movie, but it's just entertaining. It you know the certain part like it's kind of the combat like drags on too much, but what I was saying to people, it's like if you watch the prior John Wick movies and you had an enjoyable time, you're gonna enjoy this. Like it's like that's like the only real way I can recommend this to people.
I mean, yeah, we're not going in a John Wick movie and then expecting to contemplate the meaning of life when we get out of it. We're mostly going to be like, all right, if we ever kill somebody, we'll make sure that they're dead by shooting them in the head, which you should do for zombies as well. But yeah. The other thing we want to talk about with the closing thoughts is Resident Evil 4. We want to do like a big review of it since we're both playing it at the same time. You know, shocker. we're playing the same game, but we're both really enjoying it. So we're gonna do like a big review for next week's episode because we'll hopefully have finished it by then, both of us, and we can talk about it more in depth. But we just want to give our impressions so far. For me, I'm enjoying the game. It looks great. It runs great. I've had no graphical issues, which is a big plus for me with the last couple PC games I've bought that have been kind of disappointing in terms of performance. But like we said last week, Capcom definitely nailed it. It translated from the demo, no issues here. I had played Resident Evil before, but I never bought it again. So I think that helps because there's some things I remember. I didn't remember the opening sequence with the cops. I didn't remember how you met certain characters. So I'm enjoying that part of it to kind of like experiencing it again, but already having experienced it without knowing it. And it just looks great. I'm having fun. I think, well, I don't have too much to add because I'm still on I just started chapter 3 and I was messing around more with the graphic stuff to kind of make it look as best as I could. You, I think, said are in chapter 10. How's your experience that you're a little bit farther in?
Loving it. Yeah, it's awesome. It runs great. I haven't fiddled with the PC settings too much because I think basically everything's on high and it's pretty stable. I don't think they've implemented DLSS yet. There's I think a mod to try to enable it, but I just didn't want to mess with it. Like it was running good enough. Like the game looks unbelievable. It's just super smooth. Looks great. Maybe like a few stutters here and there, but I'm chalking it up as a W for RE Engine on PC. So just really impressed with you know what I've been seeing. And it was funny as I was playing through it because I think I've mentioned I've probably bought Resident Evil 4 like at least 3 times across all the different versions and systems that the game has been released on. And my memory of my experience was like basically getting it, playing it for a little bit, and like something happening. Like I don't know, maybe I got frustrated by the controls, or I just got
spooked by all the monsters.
I don't know. No, like I don't. Well, I was gonna get into that. Like for me, this is a good balance of. I'm not like so spooked out that I don't want to play it. Like it's like a good. Like it's not. I don't know. Like it's hard to describe versus like some of the more recent Resident Evil games. I'm just like. I just can't. It's like too spooky for me for whatever reason, and I just like don't enjoy that. But I think for this, it's more of like an action. It's like an action game with some horror elements. But I think it's totally fine. But yeah, no. As I was playing the game, I was like, holy shit! I actually got. I think I made it to, I can't remember which version it was, but I think I definitely remember getting to the church. Again, this was probably like 10 years ago or something like that. So I was actually surprised by how much I played the game, but it still felt, fresh and new. And then everything past the church is basically the first time I've ever experiencing that game. So, but yeah, I think that's probably, those are my initial impressions. Like, it's just looks great. I love the mouse. I love playing with mouse and keyboard. I think it might make the game a little bit too easy because I'm basically like 100% headshotting everyone, with exception of bosses. Like, the bosses can get a little tricky. So I think I might do my next playthrough on the hardcore difficulty.
Yeah, I don't think the hardcore is like really hardcore in a sense. I thought it would be harder, but like I said, like we talked about before, I think it's more to do with if you played the game before or not. Because I do have some pre-order like charms and stuff that I can find bullets easier, so maybe I'm not struggling as much as I would without enough bullets.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, this is awesome. It's a video game. Like, it's just very well executed. Like, the pacing, like all the chapters, like it's just a great package.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up an article after I'm done and seeing like what the new additions are and what's different from the original to the remake, because I think that would be really interesting to find.
Yeah, and I know you're a big like collectathon gamer, so I think you've probably already seen some of it, but when you get deeper into the game, there's definitely lots of side quests and
yeah, I've been doing a lot of stranger side quests.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of those. I think I've done all of them. I might have missed one or whatever, but like anytime I see one, I do it. So yeah, there's just like I think a lot of that stuff is new to the game, in terms of just giving you incentives to go back. The inventory system is like way better. I just like, it drove me insane having to like manually like going into the menu to have to change a weapon and then manually needing to like reorganize your, so that they've solved all that stuff. So I think there's just like lots of additions and quality of life things that just makes this like, the guts of the game are already phenomenal, but I think just like all of these ways of tightening up the gameplay, it just makes it awesome. So I think it's, I'll probably beat it, either today or tomorrow, and then I got to figure out. I know I like to think that I'll try to go back into it and play at a harder difficulty, but we'll see. We'll see what I almost never do that with games, but we'll see if it actually happens with this one. But at a minimum, I'll definitely want to check out the Mercenaries when that gets released. So.
Yeah, man, this was definitely one of those where it deserved a remake and remaster, especially how great it did when it came out and how great it's doing now for new people to experience it. All right, and that does it for us. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pressing Buttons. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram and join our Discord through our website, pressingbuttons.gg. Bring the community up. And that's it for me. You guys have a good week. I'm Hugo. Bye.
I'm Nick. Later.